Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 30th of December 2018. It's the last show of the year and the last show that we do the annual review of 2018. So it's just myself and Steve in the studio. Unofficial kind of show tonight, really. We're just going to chill out, relax, and just talk about the guests that we had on the show over the year and the kind of year that we had. I think it was a very monumental year. I think it's a year that we will look back as one of the years that was the catalyst for awakening so many people, so much truth that has been exposed. You know, all the talk about conspiracy theories, well, they're all conspiracy facts now. They're all out. Everybody seems to know about them and know something about them. And things have been exposed. So we will be talking about that. But as usual, we do have a few things to talk about. But we'll find out what the communication channels are for tonight.
Okay, as usual, communication
channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Oh, I have to change that, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
That thing has to be changed.
Right. Anyway, communication channels. OYMradio.com is the website. Excuse me.
This is Christmas here. The mind has gone into relaxation mode, is it?
The email address, the all-important email address. I don't even have the chat room open. What the hell is wrong here?
We were chatting away, as usual.
We were.
And looking at the time, and there's a minute to go when we had to get going. We're just catching up on what's been going on.
So we'll just say info@oymradio.com is the chat room. No, it's not the chat room. That's the email address. The chat room was on the website, oymradio.com. You'll see the link on the left-hand side for the chat room. And all the other relevant links there for the likes of the anti-social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all the great information. Also links to the podcasts that we have had over the years as well, so some great information there. We're also monitoring, well, we will be, as soon as they open it, the chat room on peoplesinternetradio.com as well. And we're going to say a big hi to everyone logged into both of the chat rooms and everyone joining us on all the various different streams this evening as well. You're all most welcome.
Brilliant. Okay, now, just a reminder, we have Patreon.
Forgot all about Patreon. We do have Patreon. You'll see a link on the bottom of the screen on the website, on the left-hand side. And if you do click on that and become a Patreon, you will be privy to some of the blogs that both Alan and I do from time to time, just to keep people abreast of what's going on, what we're doing. And it's just a great little platform where people who want to kind of support us are free to do so. Anything from, I don't know, from a $5 or the price of a cup of coffee upwards, anything at all is most appreciated. And there's also a link there for is there a link for PayPal? We're on PayPal as well. There is a donate button on the website for PayPal, so if you click on that button you can also do a one-off donation should you wish to do so, or you can do a monthly payment if you so wish to do so. And it all goes to the kind of keeping the wheels oiled and the running costs, because, you know, running a radio show isn't free. You know, there are running costs, electricity and broadband, and the stream. I suppose the stream has to be paid for as well. So
all other bits.
Yes.
Okay, right. Let's kick off with the first story, which is now we did mention that we had a donation that we wanted to make, and we sent. We communicated with Tony, who's the chairman of the Wexford Housing Action Group. Now, the plan of attack is that we hope to meet up with Tony and do a big shop with him for his charity. It's a homeless charity. Thanks to all the listeners for your donations. As we say, it's not just OYM, but, you know, it's not just us, but it's you guys who are donating, and that all helps to help out the homeless people as well. It's very important there. There was an eviction meeting on the 23rd down in Stokestown, and I could not believe that they let a political party up to talk. I don't know whether people actually they had a big meeting, and there's loads of people there, and they actually had a political party up there talking away. And, you know, the Stokestown or the Yellow Vest movement, is supposed to be a movement for the people, by the people, for the people. And no politician from any party should be talking. This is for the people. This is not a political platform. And unfortunately, when these meetings get together, some guy somewhere, who one of the organisers might be pally with one of his political friends, and they go, oh, get Seamus up there, or get Johnny up, or get Johnny up, or whatever. And they get up and they form a political party, and they're doing the same old BS that they do in the Dáil. So, my own personal opinion, for how I feel about it is that no political party should be at these meetings. And well, they can be at the meeting, but they shouldn't be talking. It should be the people should be only talking, and that's it. But that's just, for my opinion and how I see it. Steve, if you want to take number 3.
Yes, Alan took number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, some information from the Liberal.ie. It says, new Garda Commissioner refuses to condemn Gardaí, just looking on as KBC Bank heavies evict elderly family. It says the Garda Commissioner, Drew Harris, has defended his officers over their presence at home evictions. According to Shannonside.ie, Harris defended his officers after the Gardaí were heavily criticised for their handling of an eviction at a farm in Strokestown, County Roscommon recently. The Gardaí can be seen in a viral video footage just standing idly by as elderly people are beaten, bashed and grabbed by their ears and flung to the ground on their property. The Gardaí even stood by as one of their own, a retired Garda, took a ferocious beating from the KBC Bank hired thugs.
So Drew Harris came out and said that his members or his Gardaí would not stand around if something like that was happening. And obviously he said that out of context, because basically it did happen and they have video showing it. So that's hypocrisy working there now. I'm glad to see common sense kind of prevail, because the divide and conquer system that the elites love using is, again, maybe this was part and parcel of it. To start it could have went into sectarianism, and it could have upset a lot of people. And it did upset a lot of people, but at least we had common sense, and the people down there had common sense to go, hang on a minute, there's something else, we're being played down here. There's something going on, and even the people in the north who seen what was going on said that's just ridiculous. That should never have happened. So again, the divide and conquer program, we've said it before, ages ago we said it before. If they can start a civil war and they can bring in martial law, then they'll have all the controls they need. And even though the Constitution is thrown out the window, it'll be thrown out even further out the window. So we have to remember that there's a bigger game being played by these people, and they're not stupid. So we just have to be careful. So we don't want to go down the road of violence on both sides of the border. Obviously, we have to apply common sense and just look at the bigger picture and see what they're trying to do, and not fall for it. So just to be aware of that. I think there's a lot going on. I'm glad it's kind of quieting down a bit now, but we don't know what's going to happen in 2019. We're going to be doing a review. We're going to be talking about that and what we see happening. You never know, but we'll have a chat about that. But for the time being, how's your week, Steve?
As I just mentioned, I'm going to mention one thing that happened during the week. Excuse me. It was after last week's show. Anyone who was listening to last week's show, of course everybody was, we know that now. We done it from Studio 2, and after we ceased transmission, my brother was there. He was paying a visit, and we decided we'd sit down, we'd have a chat, a catch up, because we don't see each other very often, because he lives in the People's Republic of Cork. And
the Rebel County.
The Rebel County, or the real capital as they like to call it down there. But anyway, so we sat down, we had a bit of a chat. And out of the blue, I just mentioned this to Alan before we came on live. Out of the blue, he just said to me, I want to apologise to you. And of course I said, oh, what did you do? And he says, no, seriously. And I said, what do you mean? He says, I want to apologise. And he just said, all the information that you guys are putting out there, and all of what you do, and the information and that you share, and you've shared with me and the family all throughout the years, he said, and I kind of pushed it away and I wasn't interested, and I thought you lost the plot. He says, I want to apologise because I now know, he says, from different little awakenings and different little things that have come up on his radar over the past couple of years. He said he now realises that all I was trying to do was to help. So I won't go into all the ins and outs because it went on for a couple of minutes, but the bottom line was he has now started to have his own little awakening, and he is the second person in my family to actually come out and apologise for the way they kind of treated me in the beginning when I was putting out all this information, sharing it with family and friends alike. So another milestone has been reached. So at least now I know that what we're involved in here, it's not all in vain. And sometimes just because someone doesn't wake up immediately, or even in the first year, it doesn't mean that they won't wake up at all. It's taken a couple of years for my brother, more than a couple of years actually. Yeah, I was quite happy about that.
That's excellent. And that's two family members that have said that to you, which is good. And it's fair play to them for turning around and saying, well, look, I want to apologise, because that's all we try and do when we're trying to wake people up, is to give them information and try and educate them and just say, look, don't believe what we're saying. Go and do the research, but at least go and do it.
That's it. It's not about believe what I say. It's a simple, here's some information. Do with it what you wish. If it interests you, do some research yourself and see what you find out. Maybe you might find out something different to what we find out.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was it. Nothing else happened really during the week. I suppose it was Christmas, and
I was going to say, how's your Christmas? How'd it
go? Santa Claus came and Santa Claus went, and the kids, the children were happy with what they got, and we just kind of been kicking back and relaxing, and as much as we can.
Did you do the photos? You told me about the photos, but you haven't showed them.
Did I not?
No, you didn't show me.
Right.
You might tell them what you did. Very good. I thought it was a very good idea.
Well, what I did was, and I'll get the photos, but what I did was, and I do this every year, I get a nice picture of Santa Claus, a PNG graphic. For anyone who does any editing, you'll know what a PNG is, but we got a PNG graphic, a couple of graphics of Santa Claus, and then I'll take a picture in the sitting room, probably be looking at the Christmas tree or whatever, and then I'll superimpose Santa Claus in and kind of play around with the colours and just get it just right. And then once that's done, then I'll transfer that image onto my wife's phone. So for all intents and purposes, the children come down and they go, oh, was he here? Yes, he was, and here's a picture I got, and we'll show them the picture on the phone. Now, of course, I will get the pictures and I'll show them to Alan, and I know Alan will kind of go, you could have just shaded it a little better, and he'd probably say, you should have sent them over to me. But yeah, it looks good on a phone, and it's good enough to fool a child. Now, it won't fool probably wouldn't fool an adult. But yeah, so then I got a picture of my wife, and she was sitting on the sofa, and she had her head turned to the right as if she was talking with someone. But of course there was no one there, so we got a picture of Santa Claus sitting down, same scenario, superimposed him in there, and showed them to my daughter. Well, my daughter's 6, so she was looking at the picture, and she was blown away. Like, it was a case of, wow, he was really here. Yeah. So
very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's it. How was your week?
That's a good idea. Well, after the fiasco that we had last week with the laptop going doolally and the whole lot, all settings and everything going down, the next day I just had this urge to go and fix the problem. So basically,
you got an urge.
I got the urge to go and fix the problem. So basically, I just rebuilt the laptop from scratch from a software point of view, and just wiped everything and just rebuilt it. And I had a chat with the software providers, because there was something that I found out about the software that I wasn't told about, I wasn't aware of, about activations of the software. And the fact is, these days, that you don't own the software, you're licensed to use the software. Okay, perpetual licensing and all that. And if that's something that can be, that's something that I'd like to look at in the future. If ever the foundation, we get to the stage where there's funds there to actually, get involved in that. One of the things I'd say is, no, from now on, the licensing will be that you own the software, and that's it. When you buy it, you own it. You don't. It's not a case of, we give you a license. It's like if you were to buy a car, they'll say to you, well, you don't own the car, you have a license to use the car, so you can't do anything really to that car. where if when you buy a car, you can strip the car, take the engine out, do what you want, and they can't say anything. So I kind of disagree with this whole licensing, where you're just allowed to use it, but you don't own it. I'm sorry, but you don't pay 200 or 300 quid for something that you don't own. You know, that's just a con as far as I'm concerned, and a scam. So I'd like to address that issue with the software industry, but you know, maybe down the line we'll see what happens. But anyway, we got everything up and running, and I did an impromptu show with Laurie from PIR. The two of us went on Christmas Eve, and we did an impromptu show, and we had a problem with the PIR stream, which we have kind of sussed out what the problem is. So in the process of going to sort that. I had a word with Ben earlier today as well. So that's that. And just something that an old neighbour of mine who's on Facebook, he put a post up and he was reminiscing about the times that he used to be involved in pirate radio in the 80s. Now, the 80s, when I worked for, in the early 80s, I worked for an advertising agency in Ballsbridge and in the production department, and I used to do deliveries. And one of the deliveries to the places was Radio Nova, which was in Pembroke Place, just off Bagot Street. Obviously, pirate radios were all over the place at the time. And David was just reminiscing of, you know, the times and what was going on at the time. And I thought it'd be interesting for people to hear what was going on in pirate radio at the time. Now, everybody is aware it wasn't just because of competition. RTE were, obviously, they're not a great station, never were, never will be, as far as I'm concerned. And they didn't like the competition because the pirate radio stations were getting more business. Plus the fact that pirate radio stations would actually, like internet radio stations, we could talk about anything, and it wasn't a problem. And they didn't like the pirate radio stations being able to do that, so they wanted to shut them down. So Dave said, in 1988, a year I'll never ever forget, it's the day radio changed forever, and not in a good way. I lost my job and the airwaves went quiet. Radio had become a political football, and Ray Burke had ruined an industry. Ray Burke was the guy that sold off our assets, and he was in the 70s, and he was obviously, I think he was done for it as well.
I think he was a minister for communications as well back in the 80s.
The minister for cocking things up, more likely. So 30 years on, and I'm still earning my living from radio, but in a very different way. In those days, I was on air. Today, I'm a background guy. Being a rebel, I was also one of the few who didn't want to allow Fianna Fáil to wreck my passion. I spent a lot of 1989 cycling from Lucan to Inchicore, where Mike Wilson was single-handedly keeping Radio Dublin on air. With no electricity and no phone lines, P&T and ESB had been instructed to remove services. We soldiered on with generators that Eamon Cook would keep topped up, and we used a public phone box down the street for listeners' requests. Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
Isn't it? Really, thinking back, I mean, you just wouldn't do it now. Excuse me. Radio today is dominated by greedy men in suits who don't have a passion for anything but the bottom line, and the industry is regulated by government departments and appointed boards on a regulatory body who has no knowledge, understanding or care in the world for our magical medium. I cried on December 31st, 1988. I don't think I've ever cried since, and I will never fully get over what was done to our fun-filled industry where people work together in harmony and good spirits. Today, radio is just not the same. Lucky for me, I went on to continue a career that kept me in radio. Until 1986, I worked for Joe King of BTS fame, and then I went out on my own. To this day, I still own and run my own repair business. I set up to provide radio stations with a one-stop solution for their technical issues. It's thriving and I love it, but I miss real radio. F you, Ray Burke. So, thanks to Dave for that comment and feedback about pirate radio. And it's a shame that the media is so controlled and they'll use all the excuses out there they can. But I think we all know it's all about the control. It always has been. And that's why they got rid of the pirate stations off the air. So there's so much that has to change in society. We have to make a lot of changes. for the better. I mean, Thomas has said in his show there's 489 changes, and the financial system is one of them. So we do have to make an awful lot of changes for the better. Now, I do think that 2018, for me anyway, and Steve, I'll get you over your point on it before we start off on the review, but I do find that 2018 was a catalyst of year to start things rolling. I think I would say that a lot of people have woken up over this year. A lot of the information has come out in the forefront. And as I say, conspiracy theories are now conspiracy fact. If you look at everything that's there, people now question everything. And I'll tell you one thing I've seen as well. I watch a lot of comedy. I like comedy because, laughter's good. And I watch the likes of Mock the Week and stuff like that. And even the comedians are getting in digs every now and again with their jokes about the system, which is good to see, And people are beginning, and even them little bits of information, few jokes that are put out there, if they're slagging off the prime ministers or the politicians and stuff like that, it's all part and parcel of the awakening process, and it's great to see. Frankie Boyle, who's the Scottish comedian, he really is rocking the boat, saying about the austerity, and people blaming it on the government. And he said, it's not the government, it's the banks. And he was shouting, it's the banks. And then Noel Edmonds as well. If you go to a website, noel.world, it's Noel Edmonds' website. And he's actually on there, and he has a lot of videos on there, and he talks about the banking system and how corrupt it is and what's going on, and the fact he's taken on the banks. So, worthwhile popping over there. There's a few videos there. We did email Noel Edmonds last year. Well, this year. I'm thinking last year because tomorrow is the 31st. But this year we did email Noel, and he was going to. He thought it was a good idea coming on the show, and then he went on Holly Willoughby and what's his name, Philip Schofield, and basically they had to go with him over his issues with electromagnetic sensitivity, and the fact he had this machine that apparently allegedly cured him and people of cancer, and they were just having to pop at him over it. And I think that really turned them off about doing interviews about that, which is a pity, because it would have been good to have them on. But we will try again, and we'll try and get them on. But what do you think of 2018? How was it for you? What did you see happen over the year?
Well, first of all, I just want to mention, in relation to the article that you just read out there, there is a link to kind of follow that up, which I've posted up in both of the chat rooms there. It's just a link from a website called thejournal.ie. If anyone is listening to the podcast or not near their computer, just go to thejournal.ie when you have time, and in the search box just type in Pirate Radio and you will get a link. It's just a little overview as to the pirate radio situation in Ireland back in the 80s. It's not a complete article by any stretch. There's a lot more kind of happened before that article, but it's just worthwhile just checking out just to see what exactly the situation was back then. Right, 2018. How was 2018? Well, for me, 2018, it was a happy year and it was a sad year. Like we seen a lot of good things from a happy point of view. We did see a lot of good things happen. We've seen more people waking up. We've seen a lot more people power, people taking to the streets yet again. Will their voice be heard? That's remains to be seen, and maybe next year we will that will kind of be more prevalent on the radar, and we'll kind of see exactly if people power matters, and if those people who should be listening will be listening. And if they are listening, will they act on what the people want? If not, then a direct democracy kind of module, we're going to have to push for something like that. And as is kind of doing the rounds, we need to reinstate 48? Yes,
reinstate 48, yeah. Article 48.
That's Article 48, yeah. We had some, on a personal level, we had some a sad kind of time as well. We lost my father-in-law in May, And 2 days ago, we lost another family member on my wife's side. It wasn't anyone who was particularly close to me, but someone who my wife knew. So she had to go to a funeral there. So that's that. And then my mother-in-law, because she had an accident at home, she's now living with us. So that's a sad time for me anyway.
Very sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah, we won't go into it, but
no, we won't. But yeah, there's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of great people out there putting out some great information and doing all the right things, pushing all the right buttons, waking people up. Hopefully we're two of those people. But when on a kind of a public front, we can see Ben Gilroy. Ben is popping up again on social media in videos and on the street, and he's doing his bit to help awaken the people. Unfortunately, I mean, basically what we want is as we come to the close of this year, we want next year, the year when people will empower themselves, not in a violent way, but in a non-violent way, and just kind of do their due diligence, learn what they need to learn. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going around, and Ben's a great man. Ben will kind of immerse himself in all this. He'll do all the study. He'll learn what he needs to learn to fight the system on a level playing field. And we can't just let the likes of Ben be doing that. We need to do it ourselves where possible. We need to learn this information. And I think more people are. There's a lot of education on the internet, a lot of educational videos. We have a plethora of information that can be taken from the internet and studied, and you can go on. There's so much information. You can just literally become a PhD or whatever the hell the technical term is over a weekend. There's so much information out there. It's just a case of learning it and understanding it, absorbing it, and then putting it to good use. But I think 2018, it was kind of a catalyst, especially towards the end when we did see that eviction in Strokestown, and we've seen the people's reaction. We also seen the spin that those people who are involved in the eviction, and the people who are behind those people, and the people who are protecting those people. We've seen the kind of spin that they tried to put on it, but unfortunately it's not working now, because the people are waking up and they're starting to ask questions. So I just hope that continues, and as we venture into 2019, I hope it just grows stronger and stronger. This Yellow Vest movement and subsequent further movements, I really hope that they do grow, but grow in a positive way, and not in a way that, there'll be a few kind of provocateurs and a few bad apples in there that will ruin it for the rest of us, because we have a chance now where we can really aspire to be the people that we want to be and the people that we need to be. And we just need to go there and do it in a non-violent way if at all possible, because if we do it in a violent way, then we just play right into their hands. We need to, as Ben is doing, we need to learn the rules of the game that they play by and then beat them at their own game. Done and dusted.
Okay.
Can I go home now? Can I?
Very good. You just reminded me, actually, I lost my brother-in-law during the year as well. So he moved over to the mothership, so to speak. But he's probably in a better place at the moment. I'm sure he is. But yeah, you're right. We have to not fall for the saviour program, and we have to realise that we have the power within us to make the change. There's nobody coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. I know we keep saying it, and everybody keeps saying it, but that's what we have to do. And every little bit helps. Just do what you can. We all have limitations on our time and on our money, but there's still things that we can do. I mean, you can go on Facebook, you can go on social media, you can post stuff up, you can swap articles, you can educate people, and keep doing that, and it's the ripples in the pond, and as we keep pushing them out, and we keep pushing the information out there, slowly but surely people start waking up, and it is beginning to happen. And I think 2019 is going to be a good year for that, but we'll get more into that as we get on. But we'll do the review of the year. Now, in 2017, September 2017, we did a talk at the Basis Conference in Stillorgan. We were invited down, thanks to Miles and Chris, who invited us down to do a talk. And it was the first time we'd done a talk in a few years, because the last talk we did was down in Waterford under the PIR banner. and that was just a general talk about a few bits and pieces. It wasn't really about the whole giving a solution to how to wake people up. Now that Basis Conference talk is actually on our YouTube channel, and we're hoping to get the Open Mind Conference talk, which we did just recently in November, to have that up on the YouTube channel as well. When we get our hands on that, we just have to make a couple of edits and then we'll get it up there. So I have to speak to Trevor about that. But we started off the year with getting Miles on and talking to Miles, and we have down here Tom Ryan as well. So Tom was obviously on the show as well, and Miles was telling us all about what was going on and updates and his take on the information he's getting in. And we had Tom Ryan on. Now Tom's going to be on our show in 2 weeks' time, talking about a different subject, because Tom is the president of the IRB, not the IRA, the IRB, and he's going to be coming on and telling us about the Irish history of 1916-1919. Excuse me, because we have the anniversary, 100 years of the independence of Ireland in 1919, when the original constitution and Dáil Éireann was set up. So we're going to be talking to Tom about that in a couple of weeks' time. That's going to be interesting. You'll get the real history of what happened rather than what they tell you in the history books. And then we had, after Miles, we had Walter Graham. Again, we had Kieran Foley on as well. Now Walter is a great guy. I love talking to Walter. We always say, well, we'll talk for an hour, and then 4 hours go by and we're still talking. And we've so much to talk about. And Walter covers the wireless technology, the dangers of wireless technology, and the fluoride in the water. And we're actually talking about other technologies that are out there as well, because he's interested in the whole free energy thing as well. So we'll probably be swapping notes somewhere down the line. We've got an invite to go up to Walter for dinner sometime, so we'll have to take him up on that and pop up and say hello and see him. But he came on and he told us all about a few bits and pieces about that, about the fluoride and what's happening there. And we had Kieran, who came on about obviously health, fitness, and all that kind of stuff. Now, somebody, I don't know whether people are aware of this, and it's something I came across, and the fact that our bodies from Neanderthal man times are designed to store fat in winter. And a lot of people tend to, well, not a lot, but few people will turn around and go, right, I'm going to go on a diet during the winter period, so I'll be okay for the summer. But what they don't realise is it doesn't work, because our bodies are predetermined to store fat for the winter. It's just the way we are. That's the way the body works. And so going on a diet in the winter is not really a good thing, and the chances are it probably won't work. Now, this is what I've read. If somebody has information that goes against that process, let me know. But I came across an article that read about this and talked about it, and it's quite interesting, because somebody said to me, a family member said to me there a few days ago, oh yeah, I'm going to have to go on the diet now, you know. And I said, there's no point, because your body stores the fat, so you won't be able to get rid of much. So just something to bear in mind with that, because Kieran was on the show. Jump in whenever you want to jump in, Steve. If you have any comments.
Right, so you're not fat, you're just preparing for winter.
This is all storage. What I'm holding in my hand now is all storage.
As am I, yeah. I'm storing it myself, have been for a long time. I actually said the same. In all honesty, I said I'm going to try and shed a few pounds in the new year. I don't normally say that, but this year I just figure, you know what, I'll give it. I'm not actively going to go on a diet. I'm just decided that I'm just going to cut out some of the crap. You know, like the crap that you leave from time to time. That just you don't have to eat it. You know, like the crisps and the sweets. I'm not giving up my curry on a Friday.
You know.
No.
Yeah.
Now, just very quickly, yeah, I'll jump in. I'll just say about Miles. When we met Miles, Miles has been. We've had him on a couple of times. We've spoken to him a couple of times. I'd never met the man, but I met him on that January, that Sunday, the 7th, and I have to say. I've been a kind of a follower of Miles' work for quite a long time, and you can't go, as we spoke at the top of the show in relation to pirate radio, you can't look anywhere in pirate radio back in the 70s and 80s without coming across Miles Johnson. He was actively involved in that era, and he's a great man. I know that people say you should never meet your heroes, but I met Miles, and I have to say he was a genuinely nice man. He's a funny sense of humour. Some people don't get it, and I didn't know how to take it either, but I have to say I still like the man. He's very good at what he does. And Walter, we've met Walter plenty of times. She's more times than we care to remember. Walter's been down here in Alan's house, and they shot some videos. He's done the stuff on the Wi-Fi and the DECT phones and
that's on
microwaves.
YouTube. Yeah.
Again, that's on the YouTube channel. Walter had his gadget, his meter, which
the smoke detector.
Smog detector, yeah. So if you actually look at that, you'll see, and you can actually kind of hear audibly exactly the sounds that your various different Wi-Fi and DECT phones and stuff, the kind of the sounds that they're making, because it's picking up on the RF. And he's a genuinely lovely man, and I'm sure even in Walter's line of work, you're probably going to get people who will try and poo-poo what he says and what he does. But Walter, he's a very passionate man. He's a very very well educated man. And he would be, I would rank Walter up there in the top 10 of people whose information that I would kind of look at on a regular basis.
It's just we definitely have him on the OYM pub crawl.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
A really good guy there. Now, the next guest, obviously, is Thomas. Now, we've known Thomas now since 2016, about March 2016, April 2016. And somebody did send an email in saying, God, you have Thomas on your show quite a lot. And it's a bit like, why you have him on so often? It's like you're agreeing with everything he says. Well, we don't agree with everything Thomas says, but he does resonate on the things he does say, and it resonates with us. And his approach to things makes sense. It's common sense. It's logical. I mean, the idea of, if you want to help out, then if 200,000 people donated €1 a month, then look how many people we could help, and that's all people have to do. I mean, that's a brilliant and simple idea, and nobody has to do anything bar send €1 in once a month. 200,000 people, or even 20,000 people. 20,000 people once a month, €1. Imagine how many people we could help with that. That's a very simple. So when people say the solution is complicated, it's not. The solution is simple. It can be done simply. And you could have maybe 5 different groups around the country donating €1 for each group, which is €5 a month. And you could be helping so many people with that. I mean, it's a very simple approach to things. And that's the way Thomas looks at things. He breaks it down simply. And in nature, things are simple. It's man that complicates things. Mankind complicates things. So there's a lot of things that Thomas says, and he has good intel as well. Yes, there are some that he can prove, and there's some that he can't prove. But that's just the way it is. You have to look at the whole subject matter and Thomas in context. And take what resonates with you, and then put the other bits on the shelf that doesn't resonate with you. It's that simple. But he's a good guy, and we have a bit of a laugh anyway.
And you can actually see from that podcast that is on the list on the website there, OYMradio.com, under the podcast for 2018. You can see that it was a challenging Thomas show, because we did have a lot of questions, and some people were kind of saying, you're only asking the easy questions, you won't go in depth. So we got all the in depth questions, and we put them to Thomas, and he done the whole show Q&A, and he answered everything as truthfully as he could.
That's right. The only thing that's really bad about him is that he follows Everton, but there you go. That can't be helped, apparently. Now, if I was a sports fan, I suppose that would make sense, but the fact he's a Liverpudlian and supports Everton, well, it has to be. I think there has to be one. There has to either support Everton or you support Liverpool. It's something like that, anyway. But people would say that about the sports side of things. But I don't think they have a lot of silver in the cabinet their cabinet at the moment. Apparently, I think they lost 6-2 the other week, which is shocking.
I have no idea what you're talking
about. Yeah. So they really need to. Maybe they need funding. I don't know. Maybe they need a couple of quid. Get a few players in. Upgrade the players on the football team. But yeah, that show, as Steve said, was a challenging show where we challenged Thomas on a number of things, and he's the only guest that has ever actually done a show like that on OYM. And he was upfront and honest about that. So there you go. Now, something I want to say as well. Last week when we had Thomas and Randy on, Thomas said he would send over an image of this infrastructure chart of who rules the world. And he did, and he sent the chart over. Now, we know the photo quality is not great, and even on close-up, it's not great. But I did ask Thomas, can we get a better quality photo or close-up or image of the chart? And I left that with him. But I did post it up. I took did a bit of editing on the images just to try and improve the overall image. But if you want to see this, go to Facebook or go to MeWe. I posted the images up there, and you can actually see the chart. And the bottom part, the last 3 inches, are the governments of the world. So all the stuff, you have to ask yourself, what of all the information on the people above that, who are they? You know, I mean, there is a concentric ring. There's a ring within a ring within a ring, and there's, of all the people that's in that middle ring, there's only 4 mentions of humans. Right?
That's scary.
Now that is scary, you know. And I was talking to Thomas on Facebook. I just did a couple of messages earlier on today, and he was saying about the chart. And he said there's a ring within a ring within a ring, and there's only mentions of 4 humans, I think, in that ring. So have a look at the chart. See the size of the chart. And because, you know, this game that we're playing is just, it's unreal. There's so much that we don't know about what's going on. So fair play to Thomas for revealing that information. The next guest we had on in January was Harry Rhodes and Mary Graham. Harry, again, a regular guest. We have him on now and again. The weather modification man. He uses the technology from Wilhelm Reich, who was the guy that did the cloud busting, and Kate Bush sang about it, running up the hill with the movie. Not the movie, the video with the actor. And his name, Keith Sutherland.
Kiefer?
No, not Kiefer Sutherland. Who's
Donald?
Donald Sutherland.
His father, I believe.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland is in the video, the music video. And it was a book that Kate Bush read, which was Peter Reich, which is Wilhelm Reich's son, and about the adventures of what him and his dad was doing. So Harry does all the technology of Wilhelm Reich, and he does the weather modification. And OYM is still in the team, Harry's team, and they're still posting stuff up. And Harry's posting up videos there of what's going on. He did go out down to South Africa and help them down there regarding the heat wave that they had down there. They haven't had water for a long time, and then there was flooding after Harry went down, and we've seen the photos or the videos of the rivers flooding. So fair play. I mean, obviously the technology is there and it works. It's been proven time and time again. And Harry he's always taken photos and videos, obviously, to show people it working. And so, you know, so we joined Harry's team. So we're on the team, and if need be, if we need to use it, then we'll take it out and use it. I think with the weather at the moment, Steve, we've had it very easy. And I don't know whether this is the lull before the storm.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, one of my family had reason to have a discussion with the local GP there very recently, and he was saying there's a lot of people coming down with infections and colds and flus, and he's saying it's because it's unseasonably warm. Now, I mean, it is quite warm at the moment. I mean, when I was coming here this evening, I stepped outside the door and debated whether or not I should put on a jacket. So I decided no need. It was a nice, I think it was 10 degrees when I left the house, so I just came up in the t-shirt as I do, and it is unseasonably warm.
It is, yeah. I don't know whether it's a lull before the storm, but our next guest is a lady called Catherine Costello and Patrick Collins. We had Daniel Verity on as well. Catherine is an ex-detective who worked for the Metropolitan Police in London. before moving back to Ireland, and she got involved in the missing people. So we did a show all about missing people, and people down, I think it was down in Cork or one of the counties down there that people went missing. It was interesting. I think they were employees of Dell at the time. Maybe it was down in Limerick, and that was an interesting show. And she was being an ex-detective. She did a lot of research on that. So that was interesting information.
But what was also interesting about that is the fact that before missing persons database, that there was no database of missing people in Ireland until 2004. Before that, there was nothing.
That's right, yeah. That's
nothing.
Right.
That in itself was very concerning, because before 2004, if you went missing, that was it. You might turn up, and sure, if you didn't, ask you what harm.
Yeah, that's frightening. We are so behind. It's a third world country in Ireland, really is. Our next guest, we were planning to have Michael Vara on the show, on Sunday, the 11th of February, but Michael couldn't make it. I think there was a family deal or something. So again, Thomas jumped in and did half the show with us. And then we had Jared Banks on, and Jared was talking to us about the native Irish alphabet and teachings of Ogham, which was a language, and the ancient Ireland and the Druids. So that was interesting. We did contact Jared to come back and do a show, but he never got back to us. So, because he wanted to talk about the Irish stuff. So maybe in 2019 we'll try and get in touch with him again and ask him to come on and have a chat with us. The next guest after that, well, we bounced the guests, Steve. No point in me reading them all out. If you want to...
Yeah, after that we had, we're into February now at this stage, and we had Greg Caton and Bernadette Bone. Greg was an American herbalist, inventor and manufacturer, and he basically kind of spoke to us about that, and also his journey through the criminal system in the United States. He's also, it says, the co-founder of Alpha Omega Labs. Herbhealers.com is his website. Bernadette, she was on as well. Now, we've had Bernadette on a couple of times over the years, and we had the pleasure of having a chat with Bernadette at the recent conference in Waterford, the Open Minds Conference. And anyone who knows of Bernadette's work will know that she's looked cancer in the eyes and beat it
twice,
several times. Yeah. So she's done a lot of books, DVDs. And she's got a lot of information out there. Now, she's not just doing this to sell products or sell books or DVDs, but obviously she can't go around, she can't meet everybody personally, so she had to do these things. She is a very beautiful soul, I suppose, is the only way to describe Bernadette. She done her talk at the conference in Waterford, and she basically she stood up there and she just she put it all out there. She basically put her life out there for public scrutiny and told everyone everything that went on in her life, and all the challenges and the hurdles that she faced in relation to the breast cancer, and how she looked at it, and she figured out she could do one of two things. She could lie down and die, or she could face the challenge. So she done her research, looked into everything she could in relation to nutrition to see how she could beat the cancer. And she went into spontaneous remission, is what we're going to say, because obviously we can't say cure. So she went into spontaneous remission, and when you actually meet the woman, she looks like someone who's maybe in her late 40s at most, but she's not. She's in her 60s.
64.
Yeah.
She looks great for her age.
She looks great. She looks fantastic for her age, and she attributes it all to nutrition, just putting the right things in. She says, if you put the right things in, this is what happens.
Give your body the right enzymes to fight disease. That's really what it's all about. I know it's a cliche, your body is your temple, but it is your temple. What you put in is what you get out. And it was great to see it in the audience when we were doing Air Talk. Actually, that's what I did like when we did Air Talk at the Open Minds Conference, Dave. The amount of people that were in the audience that we had interviewed on OYM, and they were in the audience listening to us. I thought that was really nice to see them in the audience. Greg was also a chap who did a large number of ayahuasca trips. He lives over in that region, so he did a lot of that stuff. And again, interesting chat as well. Now, we will say that a lot of the shows that we did, we had double guests on. We had guests coming on at the end for the last 20 minutes because we were doing the build-up to the Open Mind Conference and getting them on and letting people hear what the guests had to say. So that's why we kind of had 20 minutes at the end. So we had the likes of Vincent on in February 25th, and he was talking about orgone. He makes the pyramids and the pendants and designs them for specific frequencies and all that kind of stuff. And at the end we had Tracy Boland on for 20 minutes, and she talked about yoga, and because she was going to be doing yoga at the Open Minds Conference. Bearing in mind also that the whole idea of the conference was planned for March, wasn't it? March. And then we had the beast from the east hit us.
We had the snow in late Feb, that's right. Yeah.
And that blew everything out, and that's why it was further on down in November. And we might have that on there. So that's why we had the second guest on at the end of the show. Steve.
Yeah, and Tracy, she was on it there as well, and she was actually at the conference. I actually missed her. She was doing yoga first thing in the morning, and I did miss that. I wasn't up early enough. But did you catch that? No,
no.
The yoga? No,
didn't catch that.
Oh,
I seen it, but
no. So you missed it, and after I'm bringing the spandex gear down and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, where are we now? We're up to.
You're going to take it, David.
I'm going to take David. Where am I going to take him? Yeah, we're up to March now. The year is moving nicely along. We had David Gallup. David was on. He specialised in promoting, implementing and educating about human rights, world citizenship and world law. He's the president of the World Service Authority, and that's in Washington, D.C., and it's a global public service human rights organisation. In addition, it says to his role as president, he served as general counsel since 1992 and previously served as vice president from 94 to 98. I have to say, he did speak about the world passport, and that interested me quite a lot because I don't have a passport. Well, I did have a passport, but it's expired. I never renewed it because I don't need to renew it because I don't go anywhere. And unless they start introducing it, when I go up to Dublin, if I need it for Dublin or probably Cork, then I'll look at it. But that's something that kind of has remained in the back of my mind, and I have mentioned this to a few people in relation to passports. And when the time comes when I do need to get a passport, I will be contacting David's company just to find out exactly the ins and outs, because it was very promising. The information that he gave, it was very promising at the time, and like everything else, is no guarantee, but he did say that, depending on the country, all you needed to do was get this world passport, go into a local, the name escapes me now, like embassy, and if they'll stamp it, then it's recognised, and that's good enough. So he was very interesting. But like I say, it's on the back burner. We also had at the tail end of that show for the last 20 minutes, we had Trevor. Trevor is the man behind the Open Minds Conference 1 and 2. So we had Trevor on just giving us an update and just kind of talking, shooting the breeze in relation to the conference. So that was that show. Well,
that was also talking about the change of dates, because we had the Beast from the East, which was the last time we had something as bad as that was 1982. I remember that in 1982. Yeah. I was in Dublin at the time. I don't know what the country was like out in the countryside. Dublin was bad, but apparently some people said 1982 was worse than the Beast from the East. But we had 3 days of being snowed in and not being able to get out of our village, so it wasn't a good time for us. Luckily we had a bit of food in, and we had electricity, but we also had our solar generators anyway, which is handy to have. Okay, the next show was, again, we had Thomas on, but Thomas brought on Kim, Miss Manna. That's the first show we did with Kim Possible. And Kim is the trustee of the global accounts. This is a very long story, folks, and we can't obviously go through it. But basically, the best way I can put it for people who are new to this is that all the wealth of the world, all the gold and the silver and the coins over the hundreds of years were taken, stolen, pilfered by the elites or the governments of the world or the royal families of the world. So it's not really their money. It's not their gold, it's not their silver. This was taken by force a lot of the time, and then it was used to enrich their own lives and enrich their power across the globe. So this has been going on for hundreds of years. So what's happening now, at this moment in time, is that Kim is now the trustee of the foundation, the trust fund, the Mana World Trust Fund, which now controls all that wealth, and the wealth has been taken back from these people, the likes of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. That's why the Rothschilds have been selling land and paintings and stuff. And I know people will say, but they're trillionaires, they can just print the money. Yes, we know they have the printing presses to print the money, but every bit of money that's printed has to have a serial number, a unique serial number that has to be allocated to that money. And the Rockefellers don't have access to that information, so they might as well be printing monopoly money, because until it's certified with this serial number, it's not worth anything. So Kim is the trustee of the money, that wealth, all the trust that's out there, the Saint Germain Trust and all these trusts that are out there, they've all been consolidated down into one trust in the quantum computer system, where it's at now. The funds will be released. There will be no Jasara or Nasara or RV or dings and dongs or anything like that, because number one, there's not enough money to pay people all that money in the world. There's just not enough money. But number two, it would crash the financial system in minutes and it would destroy society. So it's not going to happen. Straight away, it's obvious to me from a financial point of view that makes sense. Now, it will be, the plan of attack for this money is half will be given back to the governments to improve their country, and the other half will be given to people for humanitarian projects. Because the plan of attack is that the GDP the country needs to increase. The higher the GDP, the richer the country. So what's happening here in Ireland at the moment is that if you're working and you're paying taxes, then the government is getting money from you. But if you're not working and you're claiming off the social, then you're taking money from the government. That's what they don't want. So what the whole idea of having humanitarian projects where they can be funded by the trust is that the trust will fund the projects, people will be employed, they can do the job that they want to do rather than the job they feel they have to do. And then if they're earning money, then obviously the revenue or the tax can be, we won't call it tax, basically they want to stop tax on earnings and only put tax on the goods that you buy. And that money will improve the GDP of the country. So there's a bit involved with the financial side. But that's basically what it's all about. So we need to increase the GDP of each country around the world. So it's done by giving people jobs and getting them, getting their status up, giving them money in the pocket so they can buy the things they want to buy. And then there'll be tax on them items, and then that tax will be used. Now, one of the things that was said, it's not... it hasn't been decided yet, but one of the things that was said was that if the Mana World Holding Trust gave the Irish government 3 years of GDP, so let's say our GDP in Ireland is 1 billion, for example, right? I don't know, I'm just guessing, right? 1 billion. And the Mana World Holding Trust give the Irish government 3 billion, that's 3 years of the GDP. That means that the Irish government wouldn't have to charge anybody tax on their salary because they've been given the GDP of the country. That's the complete money that you'd earn from tax over the 3 year period. So there's 3 billion. Now you don't have to charge people tax on their earnings. And then that gives the Irish government 3 years to formulate a new system where all people have to do is pay tax on goods and not pay tax on the salary. Now, as any suggestion, there's loads of things that need to be looked at, the fundamentals of how it's going to work, logistically how it will work, but that's the general idea. And some people will say, well, what if the Irish government go and spend it now? Basically what will happen is the Man of World Holding Trust and the people involved will actually be saying to the Irish government, if you don't do it, then, and do what you're told, you're going to be exposed or kicked out, like what's happening in America at the moment. So they won't have a choice. So anyway, this is the information that we've been given. Is it going to happen down the line? The reason why it's not happening at the moment is because although they have the funding there, they have tried release. They can release funding to countries, but they can't release any funding to private people because the elite still have an element of control of the banking system. And when you're sending funds, it goes through certain mile markers for the funds to get to where it needs to get to. And down the line, these mile markers can be hacked by the elites. And so if the fund were to release some money to a group for humanitarian projects and it went into their Bank of Ireland, say, bank account, well then the elites could go in and, into the Bank of Ireland bank account and take the money. Now, all these little loopholes in the system are being closed down. All these little, the hacking that they're doing to steal the money, they're being closed down bit by bit. So it's only a matter of time that gets all shut down. But it's a very complicated system, folks. It would probably take another 2 hours to go through all the details of how it works. But it's not black and white. There's a lot of grey area there. But so hopefully, as time goes on, more and more people are coming to the table because they know they've no money. The other thing that you may have noticed is that although there's still chemtrails, there's not as many. And one of the things, apparently, because of that is because they're running out of money. They can't fund that project anymore. They can't fund that program. So although there's still chemtrails, there's not as many. And I've noticed that. I don't know about you, Steve.
I've noticed it as well.
Have you noticed there's been a lack of...
Yeah.
There's been the odd one, one or two, but nothing the way it used to be. And that's apparently because the chemtrail program has no money. So, they're struggling, which is a good thing. So keep us posted on that side regarding that. But so that's a kind of a big explanation regarding that meeting, but that interview we did with Thomas and Kim. Worthwhile having a listen because you really get an idea of what's going on. So check it out. Steve.
Yeah, the next interview we had was with a lady called Angela Gabrielle. That's into March. She lost her son, Christopher. He was just 26 years of age. This was kind of touching on New Earth stuff that we've kind of been hearing for a while. And Angela was, obviously she was distraught after her son had died, but not long after he died, she actually had communication from her son. Now, it wasn't just wishful thinking, because I think even at the time she tried to pass it off and said, she was just maybe going loopy, or it was just kind of, she was hoping for it, so therefore she was imagining, but it wasn't. It was actually, in her own words, it was her son. He was contacting her from the New Earth, and he was explaining how things were in the New Earth. And seemingly she was able to not just listen to him, but she was able to interact as well. She was able to ask him questions. She gave us a lot of great information on that interview. I can't remember everything that we spoke about, but there was a lot of good information, a lot of positives, whereby it did add credence to the fact that there was a such thing as a New Earth. If you want to call it that, you can call it what you like, but I think that's the word that we were using at the time. We also heard information in relation to the Mandela effect. I'm sure everyone knows what the Mandela effect is. It's just kind of the simplest form is when Nelson Mandela died and everyone else misremembered him dying earlier, a couple of years earlier. And I think we've probably all experienced that from time to time. I know I have. We also discussed on that interview Nibiru, some people say it does exist and some people say it doesn't. Some people were kind of saying that the whole chemtrail project was in order to obscure the fact that something was up there and heading our way, and we weren't supposed to see it. But then you don't know exactly what's going on, because they're saying if there was anything up there and if it is heading our way, it will be kind of in the infrared spectrum, so you wouldn't see it with the naked eye anyway. So there's no point in covering stuff up with chemtrails. We also discussed Trump and the coming event. I can't actually remember what was the event. Do you remember? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Was it the wall or something? I don't know.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, what else was there? We spoke about the equinox. You say tomato, I say tomato. It also was revealed at the time that Angela was a targeted individual. Now, I can't remember all the ins and outs of her TI status, but she did say that she had moved home several times. She was fallen victim of the black helicopters. A lot of TIs have said over the years that just kind of hover over the house for various periods of time and then disappear again, no marking, so they can't actually identify them. But we also have here that her son, David, he was a skeptic. He didn't believe in the metaphysics, and he thought his mother was just a hippie with hippie friends. And we also, on that interview, we talked about the chemtrails. That was a very interesting and emotional interview. From what I can remember of it as well, I know it was difficult for her to talk about at the time because of the whole thing about losing her son. But it's definitely one of our more positive ones. It kind of, because some interviews, although we do like to look for positives and solutions at the end of them, this one from start to finish was kind of, it was a positive, uplifting one, because it kind of added to the fact that, there is something else. We do go somewhere else when we leave this world, and it's not just, as some people think, you disappear, you go asleep, and you end up in a hole in the ground, and that's it, game over.
Totally. And that was a good interview, and she was doing the rounds on the internet as well, so we are lucky to get her on to talk about it. The next guest we had on was Steve Richards. Now, Steve deals with holographic kinetics, and it's all about healing, dimensional and multi-dimensional worlds, and understanding that all things in nature are alive and have a life force. And basically, we had a lady who is a student of Steve who lives in Northern Ireland, and she does this kind of treatment. And cut long story short, we always going to try and either offer our services, or we say, look, we'll go up and be the guinea pigs and get a treatment. But fortunately, there's a lady who I talked to on Facebook today, funny enough, who actually initially went up to have one treatment, and then she's gone back with herself and her partner to have another treatment, and she's blown away by the treatment that this lady gave her. Her life changed around amazingly. I mean, she went from being kind of housebound, not wanting to go out and face the world, and having to kind of being depressed, to going and seeing this lady, and now her world's changed around, and she's met a partner, and she's getting married, and everything's so positive. And she's just said to me today on Facebook, funny enough, I was talking to her, and she said that that it was great for herself and the partner as well. She'll give me a ring during the week and give me an update. So I think, based on that information, I think that's good enough to get this lady on from Northern Ireland, if she wants to come on and tell us all about it. Because it was Steve, one of Steve's students, and Steve's based in Australia. So again, it's got to do with healing energies, removing any negative entities, etc., etc. Something like what Nicola does, I'd say. It's similar, in the same vein, I'd say.
I'm sure it's all connected somehow. I'm sure it's all kind of quantum stuff that we don't understand.
Quantum healing in some way. So that was interesting. We'll kind of do that, try and get in touch with her after I speak to this lady and get an update, and then we'll play it by ear and try and get her on the show. Steve?
Yep, we're into April now, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day, as they say. We had Walter Graham and Harry Rhodes back on. This time we were discussing the dangers of the Wi-Fi and the new and up-and-coming 5G technology. Walter was giving us some information in relation to schools. If the school does have the Wi-Fi and it's switched on 24 hours a day, or, well, all the time while the children are in the classroom, that we can actually, and I think Walter gave us a template to do it, we can kind of fill out a little form and send it into the school, which we can request their risk assessment in relation to the technology, because seemingly if they do introduce different technologies into school before it can be used, everything has to go under risk assessment, so therefore it can be insured against and all the sort of carry on. But a lot of the schools don't have the risk assessment done in relation to the Wi-Fi, and as we mentioned on that show and on a lot of shows before and after that one, the likes of Lloyds of London, Lloyds will insure everything except wireless technology, because even they know what the story is there. What else did we have, Walter? Can
I just add to that, that if people actually go to the consumer rights and the legal side of things, check it out. The risk assessment is a legal requirement for the school and for all businesses. It's actually in writing. It's one of the laws of the land that they are required to have a risk assessment legally. So even if you go in and you do mention the Wi-Fi and they kind of go, oh, well, it's safe, and then you say, fine, you show me your risk assessment, which you are legally obliged to have. And that's where you'll probably catch them out, because chances are they won't have it.
Well, they won't have it, because in a lot of cases in relation to the Wi-Fi, it doesn't exist. And they're just kind of repeating the same rhetoric that they're getting from the Department of Education. The Department of Education are saying, we've tested it and it's safe, so you don't have to.
Oh, see, there you go. That's the lie, because they didn't test it. They're basing the report that they got from Michael Rapiccioli from the World Health Organization as it's tested. It's never been approved in Ireland.
That's correct. That's scary. In fact, it's cooking your children slowly, or your grandchildren, or yourself if you're a teacher. On that one as well, Walter did say that we can, if the principal of the school kind of refuses to discuss things with you, or is not going to switch off Wi-Fi after you've kind of given them all the facts, figures and the information, that you can actually sue the principal themselves. Personally. Yeah. Not kind of through the school and not through the Department of Education, but them as a human being.
Yeah.
So that's also worth considering too. What else did we see? Yeah, we kind of talked about this, the 11-11, 21-21 and all this 1, 2, 3, 4 coming up on the digital clock. I don't know if I still get that.
2012.
I still get it.
That had 2012.
It's 2012 now. Yeah. I still get that.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
All the time. It's got to the stage now where I still want to know why. I know we did have one of our previous guests on who did say it's kind of the universe's way of kind of giving you a high five and telling you everything's okay. Well, okay, but give me a little bit more information to go on. But yeah, I get it all the time. I could wake up in the morning and it'll be, what was it this morning? I think I did wake up, it was either this morning or yesterday morning, and it was 5:55.
Yeah.
I mean, and then later on this afternoon, it was on the 24-hour clock. It was 16:16. I think I was making the dinner and had cause to look at the clock, and it was 16:16. So I just get. I don't know if we're alone. If anyone else is getting it, do let us know.
Yeah, I'm getting it like you. You wake up and it's 4:44 in the morning or whatever. It's just uncanny.
You wake up obviously earlier than I do.
I do wake up, I do, yeah. As I say, sometimes it can be noisy in the bedroom, and not from me. But I do watch the Phantom Works.
Noisy in the bedroom?
Noisy, yeah. There could be a bit of snoring going on,
Oh,
and not for me, but put it this way, I've been doing it so often now. I put on the Phantom Works, which is like a car mechanic show, and I've been watching it so often I could strip a 1969 Mustang
and rebuild
it. Okay, so our next guest was a guest called Mark Steele. And Mark Steele was, by the way, Harry did say, watch out for the weather in 2018, 2019, because the weather is going to be worse than 2017, 2018. So let's see what happens this winter let's see if that is the case. Be curious. Unless, of course, he's modifying it with his team, and it's not going to happen, then obviously we'll have to see. Right, our next guest was Mark Steele. Mark Steele was an industry insider, and Mark came on and told us all about the dangers of 5G. And basically, we're going to be sitting in the microwave if we have 5G around us. It's that bad. And what they're doing is 5G is line of sight, which means that they have to cut down all the trees so the frequency can be bounced around like a relay. So it's going to mesh grid system, communication system. And Mark came on to tell us all about the dangers of 5G, and we said that there was a town down in Dingle in Cork that was going to be the experimentation village or town for 5G in Ireland. And to be honest with you, that's 5G is going to be bad news, folks. So we're going to need to kind of shut that down and and not let it happen. But Mark had great information on that, so that was good information, and he's still posting up a lot of information as well. So fair play to him for doing that.
Yeah. Also, on that show, we did mention also Barry Trower and a lot of other people as well. And Barry Trower's name came up on I can't remember. There was something I was on. It must have been last week. I was doing a little bit of research. You know the way you look at a video and it brings you on to another video and another video on YouTube. But Barry Trower's work was getting quoted by a chap that I did watch, and again this was in relation to kind of 5G. It led me on from 5G to this. And although Barry, a lot of people kind of have said to us and said on the internet that Barry is well, they've poo-pooed Barry's work. And they said, he's not genuine and he doesn't really have a clue what he's talking about. Well, unfortunately, folks, he does. Barry is an expert on this sort of, what we call it, warfare, microwave warfare.
Microwave warfare,
because I suppose, that is what he described it as.
Well, he was trained by the UK government.
Yeah.
So he's going to get the best training if it's going to be from the government.
Yeah. And he does know a thing or two. He does have nothing. He has absolutely nothing to gain by giving this information out. As we said this before, he's not selling a book. He's not selling a DVD. He's not selling anything. But if you ring him, he's more than happy just to kind of talk to you and give you the information. He doesn't even have a website. So. He has absolutely nothing to gain. So yeah, good information from Barry. Must get him back on again one of these days. Okay, where are we now? We're in April. Yeah, we're in April, and we had Suzanne Bertolas. Suzanne, she was on a mission to help others during spiritual awakening and tap into many creative and metaphysical abilities. She was quite interesting, and according to the little bio here, she's an author, and she's also a singer, songwriter, musician, artist, and intuitive healer. So she's also involved in the QHHT quantum soul healing facilitator, and she does a lot of other works as well. She's also was involved. Did she train under, or was she involved with Dolores Cannon also?
I don't know. Dolores has taught an awful lot of people regarding QHHT, so more than likely she might have been something got to do with Dolores, all right.
Yeah. So that was, from what I can remember of that interview, it was very kind of educational. There's QHHT. There's a lot going on there. There really is. So when you look into all the different healings, I had, as people will know, a session with someone who we're going to be talking about kind of towards the end, Nicola's in Boston. I had a session with her, and up to that point in time, quantum healing was something I'd heard it, and we talked about it, and I had a very basic understanding of what it was. Until I actually had a session, and after I had a session, and then my wife had a session, it was like, wow. This is not just words on a screen or someone kind of telling you about it. This is real stuff that works. And we did speak about. I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year or possibly a previous year. We did speak with born doctors and the technology. It's pretty much the same technology. This quantum stuff, but we can't rule it out. It seems to be as the advert says. It does what it says on the tin. But yeah, so Suzanne, she's obviously involved in that as well. And as we said, the interview was up there as well. That was the 15th of April, for anyone interested.
Right. Next guest on was Clive DeCarroll. Now, Clive's been on the show a few times. Great guy and great information. Clive is the one that told us all about magnesium and vitamin C and serapeptides and iodine, spring water, distilled water. One of the things that I've asked him about is a lot of people seem to suffer from restless leg. And he said, I can fix that. He said magnesium, because he said, and which was very, very interesting, a lot of people suffer from arthritis because we lack magnesium in our diet, in our body, and the vital organs take the magnesium, which means that it's taking it from other parts of the body, like our joints. Hence why we end up getting joint pain and arthritis. So what we need to do is we need to put magnesium back in. And I've found that on my elbow is a bit from an old war wound years ago, and it's acting up a bit. And since I've been spraying the old magnesium spray, it's definitely helped. But what I need to do is, I was also speaking to Richard Cumbers about buying the proper Celtic sea salt, not the stuff. I know Himalayan salt is okay, but the proper Celtic sea salt is a dampy grey colour. And it's full of magnesium. It's high levels of magnesium. So that's the one. You want to get a big bag of that. So that's what I'm going to get my hands on. It's on my to-do list for this year. And to take that, to start putting magnesium back in my diet. Not just spraying it on, because there's a different, you don't want to treat the symptom, you want to treat the cause. And spraying it on your leg and stuff like that, where the arthritis is okay. You're treating the symptom, but you need to treat the cause. You need to give your body the magnesium. So by getting the Celtic sea salt, and you can get it online, I believe. Richard did send me over a link, so I need to check it out. But Carl was great for that information. He had loads of ideas as well, and told us loads of other things of how to get around certain things. So a great show. If you really like health and you're into health, then obviously have a listen to Clive.
And just in relation to the serapeptase, I took serapeptase for quite a long time as well, and we eventually convinced my mother-in-law at the time. She has arthritis, and she still has arthritis, and we suggested that she try the serapeptase. She did try the serapeptase, and with great results. She no longer complained of the arthritis in her hand, but after a while, and this is kind of the way some people are, unfortunately. After a while, she wasn't getting the sympathy, because she used to have a bandage. She used to wear this elastic bandage on her hand, and a lot of people would ask, "Are you okay? Did you hurt your hand?" And she seemed to feed off that. And after the serapeptase, she used that for quite a while, and the pain was gone. She no longer needed to wear the bandage. She had proper movement in her joint, and unfortunately, then she stopped using the serapeptase. Because she was at the doctor, and she told him that she was after been using this stuff that they got in the health food shop, and she was getting great relief from it. And rather than be open-minded and say, well, if it's working, keep doing it, the doctor kind of said, I wouldn't be using that. So based on his advice, she stopped using it. So needless to say, after a couple of weeks, the bandage is back on, and to this day, she still wears the bandage. She still gets asked by people, "Oh, are you okay?" And she's just kind of happy to talk to them about the arthritis. So she's still in pain, but there was a time when alternative medicine did make a big difference. So serapeptase, I actually rate that, and we do have some in the house.
Can I just add to that?
Yes, you may.
Bob Beck said, don't assume that because people are ill, if you give them an offer of treatment that will cure them, that they'll go for it. Because there are people out there that actually prefer the pain because they get the sympathy rather than being cured. And I see it on Facebook, and I'm sure other people do it. There's people out there that are, they post up, "Oh, I'm in pain today and I'm in this pain." There's a particular lady, I won't mention any names, I've offered free pain genie treatment to this lady because I know her, and nope, she keeps posting up the same stuff all the time. "Oh, I'm in pain." Won't even give the pain genie a try. "I'm in pain." And of course, everybody's doing the same thing. So, in all honesty, if you have somebody on your Facebook page and they do that, just ignore them, because all they're doing is looking for the sympathy. And, there are solutions out there for different things, or they should take the energy to seek out a way of maybe treating their symptom, even if you get them in touch with us, and we'll try and point them in the right direction. But if you just pander to their sympathy, they'll just lap it up. So I don't do that anymore. I don't waste my time. There you go.
Yeah, you'll never be a doctor.
I'll never be a doctor. What do you mean you've no legs? Stand up!
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, where are we now? We're coming to the end of April, and we're kind of looking at the Lemurian plug. This is something I came across the OYM radar, and we looked at it for a while. We've done some investigation, and the Lemurian plug is basically a plug, an adapter of some sort, but it doesn't need to be plugged in, and it's meant to, even the people who make it don't claim to know how it works. It's like an ordinary kind of plug / adapter, but they do make some modifications to it. They add a little, I think it's like a little circuit board, or they add an antenna of some description inside. And there is actually a video, I think it's on our YouTube channel, of a dissection of the plug where we actually dissected it and showed you exactly what was inside it. You don't have to plug it in. It works on 120 volts. It's kind of for the American market. But it doesn't have to be plugged in. It can just be kind of near a source of electricity or near a plug, and it's supposed to produce harmony in the home and all sorts of claims. There's a lot of information on the internet basically saying what it does and what differences you will notice after using it. It was the chap's name who invented it was Jeffrey Radford. He's no longer with us, but it promises a lot, and we got some in because we like to kind of do the homework and our due diligence, I suppose. So we both have them. I've had mine plugged in, and basically since we got it, I made a small modification to it so I could actually plug it into the wall, and it's there in a disused outlet. And someone actually did post up on I think it may have been Shane posted up on the OYM chat there earlier, any update on the Lemurian plug. And I have to say, no. In my honest opinion, this is just me. Other people's results may vary, but I haven't noticed that my home is any more harmonious than it was before, and it wasn't pretty harmonious then before the plug, and nothing has really changed. It also said that there was a possibility that your utility bill, your electricity utility bill, would be coming in cheaper. So it kind of said that was, one of the side effects of this plug, that it would reduce your bills, and that hasn't happened either. Now, I don't know if Alan is having different results, but I can't say I've noticed anything at all. Of course, I suppose maybe as a kind of a double-blind study, I should unplug it and put it away somewhere and see if I notice any changes, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. No, we've had people, I emailed some people saying they've noticed a difference, so that's great, brilliant. That's fantastic. But for me, I haven't seen. Mine is still plugged in or up against the power anyway, because it's doing no harm being there. But as you say, Steve, if we kind of take it out and put it somewhere else and see what happens, if there's a difference, then I'll be running back and grabbing it and sticking in, put it up against the power. Then obviously we had a lady called Jen McCarthy on, and Jen was just a spiritual lady. I was talking about all things spiritual, and she has a page on Facebook called The Event Is Happening, and she just goes through her thinking of and her experiences of what she feels going on. So it was a good chat with Jen there. Next up.
Were you not next?
Was I next? Okay.
I think, yeah.
Okay, I'll go next. Okay.
Watching the time, what?
Okay, we are watching the time. Because we're only halfway through. We're only in May.
Yeah, we're in May.
We have to speed up, Steve. Danny Searle was in Australia. He came on the show. He had great information. There was a good chat that we had with Danny. He told us a good few things. And about the agreement with ETs, apparently, that this is up to 2019. and he believes that there's going to be a mass landing going to take place, and because Trump announced the Space Force. Again, good interview, good information. We'll just have to play it by ear and see what happens. But yeah, good chat. Enjoy the interview there.
Right, okay. We are up to May at this stage. May was quite interesting. The guests we had on there were Sydney Ross Singer and Soma Grismeyer. I think that is the pronunciation. And they were kind of talking to us in relation to brassiers and breast cancer. They also spoke about the book that Sydney had written called Dressed to Kill, and it's a book, and it basically kind of goes into all the science in relation to the materials in the bra and the way they constrict the breasts, and the breasts aren't supposed to be constricted in that way, and that which is why they were saying that a lot of times when a woman would come home after a hard day's work, the first thing she would take off is her coat, and the second thing will be her bra, and then obviously her breasts would naturally fall in the way that they're supposed to be, and she would get relief. But they talked about, you can massage the breasts, and we're not getting erotic or anything, but so don't get this, don't take this the wrong way. OYM does eroticism. They were just basically saying like that a lot of kind of problems will be in lymph nodes and in the area of the breast and the side of the breast, and you need to kind of do a breast massage. And they kind of told us about the breast massage. It's detailed in the book as well. And it's supposed to be very beneficial. If you need to wear a bra, they kind of say that you shouldn't be wearing one. But if you need to wear one, that you should be kind of taking care of the breast, especially for the ladies. And they kind of go into detail about the massage for draining the breasts and all. Fantastic information, very erotic.
I'll just add to that. We did have a lady that had a problem with her lymph nodes, and the doctors didn't know what the problem was. And she heard our show. She actually she took off her bra, stopped wearing it, and she said in a couple of weeks, she said the problem went. So, that's proof in the pudding, really. And
just very quickly as well, Richard Cumbers did tell us also, in all bras, if you look at not the ingredients, whatever the hell you call it.
Elastane, is it?
Elastane, yeah. That is one of the main ingredients, and elastane can actually leach into the body, and that can cause a lot of problems as well.
And you get that in your clothes, underwear, and stuff like that as well, not just bras. Right, okay, our next guest, obviously we have to fly through a few more. We have to speed up a little bit. We have Mary Helen Hensley. Mary Helen was on the show. She's an author, a spiritual person, and she was on she did a talk, I believe, at the Open Minds Conference. And she was there, I know, in the audience with Miles when we were doing our talk. So she was there. And again, a good talk with Mary Helen about what's going on and energies and all about that kind of stuff. So interesting talk. Steve.
Okay, we're into May now. Pat Green, we had on. He is the leader. Well, he's well known for being the leader of Direct Democracy Ireland, bringing direct democracy back into the Irish Constitution, as we did mention earlier. Reinstate Article 48, so people could kind of call referendums and sack politicians who weren't doing as they were supposed to do. On a side note, we actually spoke with Pat as well about his knowledge and his experience in the area of kind of statins, that's for your cholesterol, the CBD oil, homeopathy, cancer, and kind of all things health. We actually found out that Pat is he's big into health as well as other things as well. So that was kind of a very educational interview.
And we had a quick chat about the voting process, and I said that I deregistered. And Pat was saying that about, well, you need to vote and kind of get the government out. But if we have a voting system that I feel is corrupt, because the votes go off to the Garda station and then they're counted the next day, then there's no point voting because they can be manipulated and changed there, allegedly, because people have seen footage of boxes going in, going out. So if the voting system is corrupt, then there's no point voting. That's the way I see it. So regardless whether you vote or not, you vote, the guy that you want to get in, chances are they won't get in. Because if the voting system's rigged. So that needs to be stopped. What the people need to say to the government is that from now on, when voting is finished, the counting starts straight away, and everybody is watched to make sure there's no sleight of hand going on. That needs to be addressed. Right, the next guest we had on after Pat was Walt Silva and Harry Rhodes. Walt is a guy who's into all kinds of stuff, studying and practicing spiritual disciplines, and he knows all about technology as well. He's a scientist and an experimenter. And he did send us over a magnetic coil system to put on our power in our house. I have it on the power in the cable on the house to help reduce electricity. To be honest with you, I really haven't seen much of a difference with that. If it has made a difference, it's very slight, nothing major. So I need to catch up with Walt and have a talk to him about it. Thanks again to Walt sending it over. You know, it's great to have a go at these things, but there wasn't much of I didn't see much of a change with the bill coming in. But we'll see what happens. I'll keep watching the bill anyway. And of course, Harry was on talking about the flooding and the weather in Ireland and Oregon and Shungite and stuff like that. So good stuff, good information again.
Okay. We then had June 10th, we had Thomas Williams on again, and we also had Randy Morgans on at the same time. As we mentioned earlier, Thomas is the spokesperson for the group called the Foundation. He's been on here a lot of times, and I'm sure well into the future he'll be on again and again. Thomas is the man behind Truth, Honour and Integrity show. And if you just look him up, you will find the link to the show. He does live podcast, and he'll be on a couple of times during the week. He's familiar with Randy's work, and Randy is familiar with his work. So we had a great chat with both of these lads. We kind of went down a lot of different avenues. Anyone who doesn't know Randy runs his own radio show called Off Planet Radio. We talked about the factions fighting each other, new banking systems. We also talked about Trump. Casting couches, the Hollywood stuff that was going on. We touched on the paedophiles, the subliminal advertising, and also we went down the ET road as well, and the likes of the Van Allen radiation belt. And that was again, it was one of those kind of positive shows. There was a lot of good information in it. Some of it was kind of out there, but you know, for a show of that caliber, you do need your discernment cap. You need to use your own discernment, but you know, good information.
All good stuff. Right, our next guest was Kate from Karma Hemp and Adele Bulger O'Hara. Now, we've had Kate on before. Kate and her husband are the only couple in Ireland that have a license to produce industrial CBD, and they produce CBD ice cubes, where you can buy the ice cubes and you pop them in a drink and let them melt, and you can drink the CBD. And they do a number of other products as well. If you go, it's Karma Hemp, C-A-M-A, not Karma, but Karma Hemp. And if you Google that, you'll find Kate's website there. And they're in Monaghan, and you can order the products. They do CBD juice, ice cubes, and a number of other things there. We also had a lady on called Adele Bulger O'Hara, and she was a homeopath and a nurse in the system, and she was telling us all about her experiences being a homeopath, and just, you know, I think she actually would be using the Pain Genie as well. If I could be wrong with that, but we have a note down here that she was obviously something got to do with the Pain Genie as well. So that'll be interesting if she's using that as well. But I think she does. Right, Steve.
Yeah, Ivor Cummins was up next, and Ivor, he has a kind of a CV as long as your arm. He's done everything. But basically what he does is he treats this kind of the science of human metabolism, root causes of modern diseases from cholesterol to insulin resistance. He's also an author, and he kind of spoke with us about a calcium test. And for anyone who's not familiar with a calcium test, he says basically what they do is that they watch your heartbeat, and as the heart is beating, they can kind of take a snapshot of exactly what's going on in your heart between beats, and you can actually see calcium at work. Basically, you can see it there. And he says just by that snapshot, this calcium test, they can tell whether your heart is kind of healthy, or whether you may need to make some changes to your life. And he said doctors kind of won't actively ask you to or suggest that you get one of these tested, but you can go and you can get it done kind of on your own kind of, but you do have to pay for it. But he says the information that can be kind of gleaned from this test, he says it's life changing stuff. So that was another great show.
Okay, we're going to have to go even faster, Steve.
Oh, God.
So the next guest we had was Walter Silva and Nancy Hopkins. Again, we were talking all about the technology, electronic warfare, EMF, Wi-Fi, the electronic battlefield, and all that kind of stuff, 5G. So again, if you're into that, have a listen to that. That was a good interview as well. Loads of information there.
Byron Jenkins was up next, and Byron is from the Hub. He gave us a lot of information in relation to the Hub, what's going on there, what their plan of attack is, well, what it was going to be for the rest of 2018 and possibly into 2019, different court cases that they were also involved in, and the likes of securitisation. He kind of went into a lot of information in relation to that. We also had Katharina Kavungu on as well. Katharina is a regressional therapist. We've had a couple of chats with Katharina, and great information. She's a healer. There's probably not enough time to go into all the different types of healing that she does. She does have a website. You can look her up and you can see her website. She does a hell of a lot of healing. Very nice person to boot, and it was a pleasure having Katharina on.
I did take a trip down to Katrina, and we had a little bit of a treatment there. But you can have a listen on the interview. I'll go into detail on that. The next guest was a chap called Derek Condit, and Derek Condit, he actually is a beekeeper, but he has shungite bee hives, and he finds that the shungite that he uses with the beehives improves the quality of the actual honey. And thanks to Marielle and Marielle and
somebody,
her husband, I think it's Peter. Sorry if I got that wrong, but they sent myself and Steve over 3 jars of shungite honey, and it tastes lovely. It tastes like honey, but it's, thanks a lot for sending it over. It tastes lovely.
Mine is gone.
Oh, is it?
It's gone.
Wow.
There was 2 jars of honey. I kid you not. There was two jars of honey in the press at home, because we always have honey, because sometimes the kids will have a sore throat and you'll kind of give them some honey for its medicinal purposes. But there was a jar of honey from a local store, and there was the shungite honey, and I brought it home. I put it in the press. I explained as to what it was. Everyone tried a spoonful, and then a couple of weeks later I went back. The shungite bee honey, it was down to quarter. I think there was about a quarter left in the jar, and the other one that was there previously, that was still there, still with the same amount in it, because they obviously they tasted the shungite one, and there was a nice taste of it. Yeah, no, it was very nice, and thanks to Marielle and her husband for sending that over. It was very nice, because they said basically most of the honey you buy in the stores is sugarless, a fructose syrup, and it's not, it's chemicals. So get it checked out. If you're going to get honey, get the good stuff. Right, Steve? No. Is that me? Am I next? Yes, I am. We had, where are we? We're up to July now. We're only halfway through the year. I know. Okay, we had Dr. Tony Minervino on. We've had Tony on before. He's a great guy. He's a chiropractor. He does energy and quantum healing. He's also a coach as well, and a genuinely nice guy. You can have a chat with him, and he's always very positive. I have to say, anything we've ever spoken to him. We also had on Dr. Goldman. Dr. Goldman is, I can't actually remember exactly what he was doing, but he was doing something anyway. He had an MBA, which so he's involved in different companies. We spoke with him in relation to fluoride in the water and the privatisation of water in Ireland, and so on and so forth. Okay, next guest, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We got a recommendation of this lady who is called Gillian and Jilly Juice, and needless to say, there is a straight jacket with her name on it, and we don't recommend touching this Jilly Juice at all. Don't go near it, don't make it, don't waste your time with it. And we put that post up on the actual interview. The reason why we kept the interview up, because we had Kevin Hendrick on, who's an audiologist, and he checks people's hearing, and he goes into the science of the hearing and why people are suffering from hearing loss. So we kept the interview up because Kevin was on there, and at the end of it, Kevin talks about
his experience of a treatment I gave to him with the Pain Genie and how he felt after it. He said it was brilliant. Have a listen to that. If you want to know more about the Pain Genie and his personal experience with the Pain Genie, have a listen to that interview. Steve.
Yep, next up, we're into August now. We're making good headway. We had Jonathan Irwin on. This is the second time we've had Jonathan on. He spoke with us in relation to the HPV vaccine. Himself and his wife were founders of the Jack and Jill Foundation here in Ireland. They had a child of theirs who was affected by the vaccine, and they kind of done a lot of homework and done a lot of fundraising, built up the Jack and Jill Foundation, and are caring or providing care for children who are injured by vaccines, who are not being looked after by the state.
Yeah, very good chat by Jonathan there. And the next guest was Siobhan Brady. Siobhan Brady is a spiritual medium, and Siobhan came on, and she actually gave us a reading, gave me a reading before we brought her on the show a couple of days before that, and it was very good reading, great information that she came across, and she gave. So I was happy with the reading, good information. Again, she does Reiki and everything else. So overall, great chat. If you're into that, if you're into the spiritual side and want to know more about that, obviously you have a listen to that interview.
Okay, Richard Cumbers was our next guest, still in August. Richard kind of gave us some more information in relation to the Pain Genie, and there's anyone who's interested in knowing more about the Pain Genie, you can actually go along to paingenie.com. You'll get all the information that you need there. There's a lot of videos and some fantastic information in relation to the device, also training courses that are run from time to time by Richard. We also kind of touched on Lyme disease and a product called Trinity for treating Lyme disease, and I think Richard was kind enough to send us over some of that Trinity. He also spoke to... Alan's just showing it to me here. He also spoke about something that we had touched on earlier, which was the magnesium in our bodies. He also went in and talked about Epsom salts, how beneficial they are. A lot of more information. He went to talk about EMF, smart meters, 5G, the Celtic sea salt, and so on. So again, that was in 19th of August. So that interview is there as well.
Okie dokie. Our next guest was a chap called Matthew. Sorry, just get the page up here. Jeffrey Mattei. And Jeffrey came on and just talked to us about the social credit system, China, Agenda 21, and all that kind of stuff, just what's going on with the global elites, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to bring in, and hidden trends and pattern recognition. And he's been kind of studying that, and why we're having religious wars and all this kind of stuff. So good information from Jeffrey.
Okay, David Noakes was up next, and that was into September. David gave us some great information about the company Immunobiotech. He's also a man of 31 research papers, peer-reviewed, published in prestigious scientific journals, and that's in relation to the GC-MAF. David has gone through the ringer in relation to the GC-MAF, and we know like a lot of projects have been closed down, funding has been removed, and he's been threatened, etc., etc. So he's a firm believer in the GC-MAF. There's a lot of research has been done into it, and it's one of these kind of things that when you know about it, you wonder why we didn't hear about it already, and then you kind of start to ask the question, why is this information being suppressed? So yeah, that was with David. We also had on that same interview, we had Louise from the CPA, that's the Child Protection Awareness Group here, and there was a lot of great information in relation to that.
And we still have the radios here for them.
We actually did. We done a little fundraiser, and we got some radios, some two-way radios that would be very beneficial,
and they're still here
for the group, and they're still here.
So we're trying to get them to the group, so we have to sort that out.
Yeah.
Okay, next person on, we had Beverly Nation, again, spiritual lady, talking about the things that are going on the planet, energy healer, channeling, all that kind of stuff. So again, if you're into that, interesting interview with Beverly. It was good information.
Okay, Walter was back. Walter was back with us in September, and he gave us some good information in relation to the councils of Northern Ireland, because there was talk then about fluoride being added back to the public water supply in Northern Ireland in the 6 counties. Walter was actively involved in getting that removed several years ago, and there's talk about getting it back into the supply, so he's fighting that again. We also talked about phosphoric acid being put in as a water treatment. Cancer rates in the south, the difference between the cancer rates in the south and those of Northern Ireland as well. Again, we touch on the 5G and the risk assessment again.
Okay, next we had a round table with Liam Deegan, Jeffrey Rudd and Mark Laidlaw. Now, Mark couldn't make the show. We had a technical problem with Mark. But we did speak to Liam and Jeffrey about what was going on, the state of Ireland, basically, and their thoughts on it. So, again, a good chat, talking about evictions and everything else. So, that would be, for people who are interested in that, have a listen to that interview there.
Okay, David Dubine was up next. David is a creator of Adapt 2030. That's a channel on YouTube, and he talks about the Mini Ice Age Conversations podcast, which discuss societal changes as our Earth enters deeper into the 80 grand solar minimum. So some good information about that. And we also talked about decreases in the jet stream, shifts, clouds cover increases with heavier wind, rain, kind of all that sort of information. Bankrupt industry, food shortages, and crush the global economy. So yeah, there was a lot covered in that interview. So that was David Dubine. Okay,
and the 7th of October we had Trevor, Mary Helen Hensley and Andy Thomas on just talking about the Open Mind Conference, the up and coming Open Mind Conference in November, and we just had a chat about that.
Okay, Cal Washington was up next in October. Cal is from the Empowerment movement, and he gave us some great information about the Empower movement. And there's some video. They do have a website there as well, and there is a lot of videos of Cal kind of talking about the movement and how people can kind of get involved and help themselves.
Good stuff. And again, after Cal, we had Thomas on again. Getting an update on intel and information. Again, as usual, good info and a good chat.
Right, next up, Dr. Arima Lebeau and Ralph Fusatola. That was coming towards the end of October. Dr. Arima Lebeau, she's been on several times before. She was married to the General, was it the General Stubblebine, who died this year. She's doing Trojan work over in Chile, as I say, in relation to the alternative medicine, and basically she's fighting the system over there. And she's making, like a lot of people, she's having some small wins, but she's getting the information out there, and with through shows like OYM, she's able to help educate people better. Ralph, he was I can't actually remember too much about Ralph, but I know he's also involved. Okay, we have to speed things up. But yeah, we were talking about kind of nutrients and dangers of vaccines and autism, general medical issues, and also people before profit.
Right, okay. Next guest was Deborah Tavares. She's from StopTheCrime.net. Deborah has been doing sterling work, waking people up regarding 5G and all the dangers of the technology and what's going on in California. A good interview, great information. She is a woman that you just start her up and off she goes. It was one of them interviews, wasn't it, Steve? But check it out. She had a lot to say about what's going on.
Okay, Michael Feely was up next in the 11th of November. Michael, former UK police officer, now in Ancient Code Breaker. He's an author, and he spoke with us about paranormal experiences witnessed, dimensional portals, UFO sightings, etc., etc. We also kind of talked about the pyramids and Atlantis, Lemuria, etc. So that was quite interesting. I think we had Trevor on also on that interview in relation to the Open Minds Conference.
After the conference, yeah. Okay, Mark Steele was on the 18th of November, just giving us an update on the things that he's found out about 5G and what's happening at the local councils and the rollout of the technology. So again, you can catch up with that.
Yeah, Gerald O'Donnell was up next at the end of November. He's he's a remote viewer, and he's the founder of the Academy of Remote Viewing and Remote Influencing. That's the ARVARI. So he gave us some great information in relation to remote viewing, his thoughts on it, what it can be used for, and all the ins and outs, ups and downs of remote viewing.
Brilliant. And next couple of people we had on was Dermot O'Coyle and Jeff Rudd, I should say. And basically, Dermot and Jeff were talking to us about the state of Ireland and their thoughts on the voting scam and boxes, being reallocated, and job path and attacks on Jeff himself and the medical system. So good chat there.
Okay, next up was Chris Fogarty. Chris basically kind of gave us some good information in relation to the Irish Holocaust, aka the famine. What we were all taught about in school was the famine. Well, he's done his research, and himself and his wife have kind of done a whole they've done a book on the Irish Holocaust. And there's a lot of great information in the book. Some people say that it's a very kind of hard to read book because it's just basically full of facts and figures. But he was able to kind of go through the whole Holocaust, for want of a better word, step by step, and kind of show us who was involved, why they were involved, and eye-opening information, I have to say.
Now, our next guest was Nicola Kehoe Barbosa, and she gave Steve a treatment. Again, she's an energy healer, quantum energy healer, and she gave Steve a treatment, and he was happy with that. And I think he got his wife treated as well, and they were both happy with the results with the treatment. So, happy days. Well done, Nicola, and good interview, good information there.
Yeah, sure was. Next up, which was last week, we're making it by the skin of our teeth. Last week was Randy Morgans and Thomas Williams. We were supposed to have Kim on as well, but because something else had arisen, Kim could not make it. So basically, we kind of went down the road with Thomas and Randy about basically everything that's kind of going on and in the world, and it was just a great interview, and it was I think it was our first 3-hour interview.
That's right.
So yeah, it was very good, very positive.
It's our first 3-hour show with them, and we will try and reschedule next year. We'll do try and plan another 3-hour with Kim and try and have her on. It'd be fantastic. There you go. 4 minutes to spare, and we've gone through the whole list of guests that we've had on the show. That was some year, and that was some amount of people on and some information that we've gone through on OYM. It's there's a lot of work there, a lot of research, a lot of running around trying to get people on. It seems to be getting harder these days. I will say, folks, it is getting harder trying to get people on for whatever reason. Trying to get, I won't say quality guests because everybody has a lot of information, a lot to say. But, we do get emails all the time saying, why don't you get this person on? And sometimes we do chase these people up and we don't get any emails back, and they don't want to know or whatever, or maybe they don't get the email, or for whatever reason, anyway, they don't get back to us. So we, try somebody else. But there are guests that we'll get back on because we do say part 2. And there are guests that we're thinking of getting back on, which are really good, that we'll do a part 2 with them anyway. But so there you go. So all we have to say really is to everybody who's tuning in or listening to this podcast, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a few days' time, maybe in a few months, a few years' time. Just hope you had a great Christmas. Happy New Year to you, and let's hope that 2019 is going to be a better year for all of us, that the developments that took place in 2018 are going to be enhanced and increased, and that things move on, and the energies, if they're hitting the planet, increase even more, and more people wake up. That's really, what we hope will be, and we'll do our best as OYM, with your support, and it's your support that's important to help us achieve what we want to achieve. We will try and up our game for next year. Steve?
Well,
Ending thoughts?
I think you said it all. Yeah, it has been a challenging year, but towards the end of the year, it was given some meaning and some purpose when we did see the likes of that eviction in Strokestown and County Roscommon here in Ireland, and we did see the public reaction, and we seen the people start to wake up, and I think it was kind of a positive end to a negative year.
It was, and it's good to see. So roll on, and more good energy. For myself, Alan James, have a good one. Take it easy. Stay safe. Don't drink too much. And well, New Year's Eve.
What? Why?
I have a bottle of Baileys.
Yeah.
That you get me.
Well, don't drink too much. How do you like that advice?
Yeah, don't drink too much.
Right.
Okay. So take